Most businesses think content is the biggest thing that helps them sell, right? So in reality, content has nothing to do with sales. Some videos create attention, some videos generate leads, but very few actually help someone to make that final decision to get them over the hump. And when businesses treat all three like they're the same thing, the result is generally unpredictable. Sales conversion cycles get longer, buyers show up confused, price shock typically happens, and deals end up stalling. So most businesses these days are all about content, content, content. It's the thing that helps us sell. But in reality, a lot of content has nothing to do with sales. So you've got some videos that generate leads, and then you've got some videos that get attention, but very few of those videos actually help someone to make a decision and get them over the hump to make a sale. So when businesses treat all three like they're the same thing, the results tend to be unpredictable. Sales conversions get longer, buyers show up confused, price shock typically happens, deals end up stalling. This isn't because the product is bad. It's just because the buyer wasn't prepared before the conversation actually started. Let's see what this looks like in the real world. So homeowner books an estimate, right? They've seen your Instagram, they've watched a few kitchen transformation videos, and maybe they even click to follow your page, right? But when the meeting starts, they still don't understand what the process actually looks like, what they cost, and what decisions they're gonna need to make, or what separates you from the next contractor over. So instead of the conversation being about the decision, it ends up being an education conversation. And education can take time. So here's the core idea. Attention and decisions are not the same job. Attention is about getting noticed, right? Getting your foot in the door. Decisions are about removing doubt. So views, likes, reach, they're all signals, but they're not outcomes. A million views isn't going to mean that you have a million buyers. It just means that a million people engaged with and watched your content. So in my opinion, there's three main types of content. First off, we've got attention content, right? So this is what most people think of when they hear the word content. You've got your short format videos, you've got reels, you've got TikToks, you've got before and after transformations, then you've got your quick tips sections, right? So this content is typically designed to stop the scroll, build awareness, create familiarity, and show that you exist. And this content absolutely matters, right? So social content is typically educational, it can build familiarity, it can also signal expertise, but from like a distance, right? But it typically operates on a surface level. Attention content opens the door, right? It doesn't walk someone through the house, it just opens the door. Now, lead generation content, right? The second type of content is designed to capture intent. This is where you get somebody to raise their hand, maybe download a guide, maybe they fill out a form, maybe they book a consultation. The important distinction is that a lead is still not a buyer yet, right? So a homeowner can download a remodeling guide and still not be ready to spend $120,000 on a kitchen. They've shown interest, they've raised their hand, however, they haven't made a decision yet. So what about sales nurturing content? Now, this is the category most businesses are missing. This content isn't meant to go viral. It isn't really built to generate leads. It's built to prepare someone to make a decision. This is where the trust compression actually happens. Trust compression means that the trust that normally takes 5 conversations happens before the very first conversation. Questions end up getting answered earlier. Expectations get set earlier. Concerns get addressed earlier. When the conversation finally happens, it isn't about explaining everything from scratch. It's about confirming what someone has already understood. So the 6 main areas that buyers need answered, in my opinion, right, for someone to confidently choose a contractor, service provider, or business. The first stage is you're going to need orientation content, right? So how should someone think about this decision? What actually matters? What mistakes do people make? Typically without orientation, buyers evaluate using the wrong criteria. So next up is your process, right? So what actually happens when the customer works with you? Step by step, from the first call all the way to the final result. Uncertainty around process ends up creating anxiety. Now clarity ends up removing that anxiety. Next up, we've got the pricing and budget reality. You don't need to give exact numbers, you just need to give the context. Give a price range. What affects the costs? Why projects vary? What drives pricing? The next step is credibility, right? So why should I choose this company? Why this approach? Why this standard? Not your typical marketing claims, right? Just demonstrated competence. Next up is proof through education, right? So this isn't just your testimonials, it's showing the actual work that you've done, right? Explaining your decisions, walking through real world projects, and teaching people what goes wrong and why. That builds trust without actually asking for it. Next up, you've got objection handling, answering the concerns buyers are already thinking about in their head. What are the risks involved? What's the timing going to be involved? What are the alternatives? Fear of making the wrong decision. So if these questions typically aren't answered before the meeting, they get answered during it, right? You just end up wasting time and that slows everything down. That doesn't mean social content is useless, because it's absolutely necessary, right? Social content will be your top of funnel educational content. Social content will be your broad reach educational content. It can introduce ideas, It can lightly touch on some of these 6 areas, but social content is designed mainly for attention. Sales content is designed for certainty, right? So you have two completely different jobs, two completely different outcomes. So now let's take a look at a thumbnail, right? So think about it like this. A beautiful kitchen transformation on social media might get 1 million views, but the video that actually helps someone to decide to move forward with the actual project might only get 300 views. The first video creates the attention and the second one creates the decisions. And so I want to talk a little bit about YouTube, right? So YouTube is one of the only platforms where attention and education can exist in the same exact space. It has your discoverability just like social media, but it allows for depth, right? And it allows for nuance and it allows for explanation. YouTube is where attention slows down long enough for your trust to form. So when businesses confuse the types of content, the results end up showing up in sales, right? So sales reps start re-explaining the basics. Homeowners show up unprepared. You get a lot of price resistance, long follow-up cycles, low close rates, even when the marketing seems to actually be working. If your sales team is doing all the educating, your content isn't actually doing its full job. You're getting the attention, but you're not building that relationship with the client. So the shift is simple. I need you to stop asking, is this content good? Start asking, what job is this video supposed to do? Because remember, social content creates the attention, lead content captures interest, but sales content creates decisions. And those who understand the difference between those three end up winning.